In the world of combat sports, many fighters try to achieve the best physique possible in order to achieve their peak performance. Other fighters, not so much. These are the top fighters with the worst physiques in the UFC. Nate Diaz, who was once a cardio machine, Nate Diaz has declined to be the subject of one of the worst physiques in the UFC. Diaz's physique is often described as lean and lanky, and some argue that he lacks the muscular definition and the bulk associated with elite athletes in combat sports. His slender frame led to questions about his physical strength and ability to impose his will on opponents. This is particularly against fighters of more imposing physiques. Another area of criticism leveled against Diaz was his cardio, which was a debate among fans and analysts because he's known for his high-volume striking and relentless pace during his fights. But in Diaz's last fight against Tony Ferguson, people noticed that Diaz gassed out and was just walking around the octagon, leading to a decline in his output and overall performance. Kelvin Gastelum had a physique that was not fit for the middleweight division. Kelvin had a good start to the division and almost beat current champ Israel Adesanya in their war, but couldn't keep up. The opponents were all 6'3" with almost 80-inch reach that he had to go against when he was 5'9", and he couldn't even get close to them without getting hurt. Kelvin's last win was against Chris Curtis, who had a similar build, but this proves that the average middleweight physique was Kelvin's perfect counter. Ben Askren is the definition of the dad bod, and for his division, he did not have the strong body type. We only have 3 fights to go off of for Ben Askren, but he lost 2 of them by finishes, and his opponents were taller with a better reach. Ben's lack of reach added to his abysmal striking, and his height did not work with the average height of 6 feet in welterweight. Most people in this division have a stocky and built physique with length, while Ben had the exact opposite. Ben had very little muscular definition to his body. Overall, Ben Askren's physique did not do him justice for the welterweight division. DC is one of the top fighters in UFC history, but this still doesn't save him from having one of the worst physiques in history. Even when cutting for 205, DC still held a big gut, which although looked athletic, started to look way worse once he started to venture into the heavyweight division. DC's physique didn't even match the normal light heavyweights, as they were all tall, about 6'4" to 6'5", with a long reach, and even had abs, which DC never achieved in his career. DC's weakness was of course body shots, and that made fights a lot harder for him, which is how John Jones and Stipe Miocic defeated him. Overall though, DC was a great fighter, but if his body and physique was better, who knows how great he could have been. Roy Nelson, chubby but dangerous. Roy Nelson, a former heavyweight fighter in the UFC, has often been the subject of discussions and debates regarding his physique. Nelson's physical appearance has drawn criticism and raised many questions about his fitness level in a sport that demands peak male athletic performance. Criticism regarding Roy Nelson's physique primarily stems from the fact that he carries a significant amount of body fat. Some people believe that this excess weight negatively impacts his overall athleticism, conditioning, and performance inside the octagon. Derrick the Black Beast Lewis. From his need to cut to make the heavyweight limitations, which is 265, to his abdominal cardio, Derrick Lewis has been in the talks for arguably the worst physiques in UFC history. He possesses a solid build for a heavyweight fighter. Some argue that he doesn't have the typical chiseled or athletic appearance like Leon Edwards. Lewis has openly acknowledged his preference for spending time with his family and enjoying his life outside of training, which may contribute to his physique being less defined compared to other fighters, has led to questions about his overall conditioning and whether it may hinder his performance against opponents who can maintain a higher pace. The UFC's heavyweight limit is set at 265 pounds, and Lewis has occasionally weighed in near that upper limit. Critics argue that a weight cut to a lower weight class, such as light heavyweight, could potentially improve his overall physical condition, agility, and cardio. In fact, in his last fight, fans were exhilarated to a thinner Lewis when he announced he's in the best shape of his career in a fight against Sergey Spivak. However, he left many people disappointed when he entered that octagon and looked worse than before. Ultimately, success in the UFC is determined by a combination of technical proficiency, mental strength, and physical capabilities, rather than solely by one's physical appearance.